Matt Porter's here. You don't moan, do you? Yes, you do.
Yes, most of the time. Yeah.
If there was a world championship for it, we would win, wouldn't we?
I think so.
I think we
Are we
would,
moaning
yes.
about mobile phone usage? Are we?
We are indeed. Yeah. And there's technology now, isn't there? So that we don't need to be having the thing stuck to our ear hole.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the people I've seen using mobile phones behind a wheel, it doesn't matter what you do, what you say, or what the rules are. They are going to simply do it regardless. Whatever you put in place to stop it, they will take the risk.
So would more penalty points, bigger fine, those kind of things make a difference, do you think?
Possibly, but I still think that people will. I've seen people use phones and they're just blatantly ignoring the rules, you know.
Matt's our technology guru from Matt Porter Web Design, based at Innovation Martlesham at Astral Park. And I remember selling mobile phones back in the day, and I remember they were car phones, and so they would be physically bolted
That's
into
right,
the car.
yeah.
And then you could get the transportable sort that had the full car kit in,
That's it.
and then you'd walk out with the brick. You take that kind of gubbins bit out, and
That's
you could
right.
walk around with that.
Yeah.
But then the handheld ones came in, but we still fitted car kits.
Yes. Very interestingly, with regard specifically to the car that I've just been driving, the Golf, the facility on there was, once I connected via Bluetooth to it, it did a thing called remote SIM. So it took control of my mobile phone completely off of me, so you couldn't actually use the phone. It didn't appear to want to work for data or anything like that. Once it was actually attached to the car, you could only control it via the car itself. So that was quite a good thing. It was called remote SIM.
Right.
Effectively took control of the SIM card in my phone and killed the phone, and it worked through the car. So that was quite useful.
So maybe technology will catch up eventually then, and it will make it safer for us all.
Yeah.
So you can still make and receive calls.
I could, through the car. Yeah. I could either voice activate it by saying make call, or something like that. I didn't try that bit. But there was voice activation on it, or I just pressed the button on the screen and then it asked me to...
But the thing is, you're not going to get that in vans, are you? You're not going to get it in, the old transits and things like that.
Possibly in the old
around.
transits, no, but there are fairly cost-effective car kits that will work, that you just simply
So there
plug
should be
in.
no excuse.
It's very dangerous using a phone when you're driving. Before the rules changed and things like that, there were plenty of times when my phone beeped and I picked it up and looked at it, and you're looking away from where you're doing. You're losing concentration, and it only takes a second, really, doesn't it? So,
right. Okay. Well, the car you are looking at this week doesn't always review cars, but we have had a fascinating look at e-cars, haven't we? Electric cars, and I didn't realise there were quite so many on the market. That's this week it is the Volkswagen eGolf.
That's right.
An electric Golf.
Yes, they it's been around for about, I think, 6 to 8 months. Looks exactly like a Golf. This was always a bit of an argumentative point, really, was electric cars were made to look different. A bit like the Jetson type cars, where the Volkswagen in this case with the Golf, it is a Golf. It's sitting in a Golf, but under the bonnet there is an electric motor instead of a petrol or diesel engine. It's very stable because the batteries are low down, as they are in most of those cars. The weight is low down.
So actually, because they are quite heavy, the batteries in these vehicles, all of them have had good ride holding, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Handling?
Fantastic. Yeah, really good handling because the centre of gravity is low. In this particular car, I think it's slightly heavier than the diesel edition, but only slightly. The handling was amazing. In fact, it was scarily good. The acceleration on it was very good as well. Driving it was absolutely amazing. It was silent, absolutely silent, beautifully smooth ride.
Does that not worry you, though, with silent cars? Because, did you have instances where perhaps people didn't hear you coming? I mean, that's what worries me.
You have up to, I think, 22 miles per hour on most electric cars. They have pedestrian warning sounds, so there is an audible noise comes from the car up to that speed.
Right.
So if you're driving around pedestrianised areas, then they'll be able able
they
to hear
should still
you.
hear you.
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
You can switch them off on some of them, but basically, yeah, they make an audible noise because otherwise, yes, you get cyclists specifically. You know, you don't want to be surprising a cyclist, but it's obviously road noise from the tyres and things like that you hear. But yeah, it was very nice, and I drove it to Colchester and back on a number of occasions through the wonderful speed limit on the A12.
Oh, still there? Have they started doing any roadworks there yet or not?
I think they do at night between 2 and 2:15.
Right.
I don't know. Yes, they're working on it late at night, but I drove along there. It was actually quite good because it is pretty strict speed limit there. I think it's an average speed
40, isn't it?
So you've got to be very careful. I had used the active I can't
Cruise control?
Cruise control, yeah. There was a cruise control facility on there, but there was collision control as well, active collision control. So you could set it to 40 miles an hour, but you could also set the distance between you and the next car. So if a car slowed down, the car would slow down and speed up, even to the point where it would come to a halt completely. If it stayed at halt for less than 3 minutes, it would then pull away when the car in front did.
So a lot of these electric cars that you've been trying do seem to have an awful lot of new modern technology in them.
Absolutely. Had automatic parking. That was absolutely amazing. There are many other cars out there now that do it, but you have a thing, it's called Park Pilot. As you pull up alongside parking spaces, whether they're parallel or standard, you select that on your screen and it will then find a space. It then says engage reverse, you hold your foot on the brake and you can go backwards as slow or fast as you want to, really, and it will then adjust, it will control the steering wheel for you. Reverses in, then it will say engage forward, so you'll be shuffling. It depends on how the sort of space. I dropped my son off at his school, which is very tight parking, and there was a space there that I never would have attempted. But for fun, I selected Park Pilot and I got in the space. And in fact, one of the teaching assistants commended me. She said, that was amazing parking. I really wouldn't have thought anyone would have got in there. I said, well, there you go.
And what about the performance of it?
Performance was very, very good. As electric cars, great amount of torque, which means that they
you just put your foot down and
you put your foot down, they go, and there's no delay because they're generally single gear. There's a limit to the top speed. Range wise, it was about 100 miles, and it was about 100 miles.
It's not very far, is it?
You could argue that if you're driving a lot in a day, then it isn't going to work for a rep. But because a lot of companies now are installing charge points, you go to work, you plug in, and then you go and do your work, and then you unplug and go home. When you get home at night, because electric cars, you can get yourself a charge point installed for free by many of the providers. You come home from work, you plug the car in.
Okay.
So you change your behaviour to suit the type of car. When I went to Colchester, I was given a lot of charge cards by Volkswagen, and one of them, Colchester United, have a charge point which was compatible. I went there. It was quite late at night because I was late in Colchester. I plugged into for half an hour on the rapid charge, and it took it up to, I think, about 85% charge, so in less than half an hour. So the key is the rapid charge points if you are travelling any distance.
And the cost of this one?
This one is around 26,000, but that includes a £5,000 plug-in grant. All the electric cars you can buy at the moment, the government will pay you £5,000 plug-in grant towards them. Great car, really, really wonderful to drive, and highly recommend that one. Actually, that one I said to them, "Can I keep it, please?" And they said no. So
no, he has to hand them all back.
Yeah, but that is it really for now for the electric cars. There was a glut of them because the manufacturers all came back to me at the same time, so I had to then fit them in. Generally, that
that's interesting.
happen.
I genuinely didn't realise that there were so many on the market.
There are others out there, but I think we've done 8 so far in the last sort of 6 months. That's probably sufficient for now.
I think that's enough. He knows where every charge point is in Suffolk, I think. Matt, thank you. You can find out more on Matt's website, thegadgetman.org.uk, thegadgetman.org.uk. Matt from Matt Porter Web Design, based at Innovation Martlesham, which is at Ad Astral Park. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Otherwise, before that, if there is any other techie news. He looks at his watch. Is that what you're looking at next week?
Yes, I am, yes. That is a Sony Smartwatch 3, which uses Android Wear.
You are a walking gadget. You really are, aren't you? He's a walking gadget. two of them, one on each wrist. Look.
BBC Radio Suffolk